After a breakout moment with The Secret of Us, which spawned her first top 10 smash hit, That's So True, Gracie Abrams is back with Daughter from Hell, which marks her third album and a stark return to the smoky, atmospheric vibes that her debut album Good Riddance had. I think it's a record that has some of her best, but also some of her most boring tracks yet. You guys know the drill, I'm going to give a brief recap and then my overall take on it before going track by track and assigning a score. So here are some of my overall thoughts. Daughter from Hell runs 16 tracks, it's nearly an hour long, and despite its two lead singles hinting at a more dynamic record, it's actually mostly mid-tempo ballads that individually sound great, but track listed so close together that it almost becomes a sludgy, sad affair where I'm not sure where one track ends and another begins. There's a shadow of anonymity to this work that's kinda disappointing, I'll talk about it later. This record was mostly produced by Abrams and Aaron Dessner, who lends some cohesion throughout, but I rarely felt jolted or inspired beyond appreciating some of the string work here and there. There was one moment where I kind of perked up while listening, and that's Dan Nigra's contribution, Look at My Life, which is a bombastic, for Gracie standards, track where she talks about her rising anxiety and the demands of fame on her. The record's title and some of the visuals hinted to me an edgier record, but much like the track that it's named after, this is a fake out. The title track actually ends up being this very sweet ode to her mother, whom she's starting to see more of herself in and wishes to be like one day. Daughter from Hell as a record ends up being somewhat of a toothless thing. It's filled with a lot of polite criticisms, vague musings about adversaries that range from mustache-twirling shadows to scorned exes that she regrets loving. And sometimes it does feel like it's trying too hard to come off as mature and grown without the substance to back those claims. Contrast this with The Secret of Us, which itself had some issues, but more or less still had this twee, almost childish playfulness to contrast some of the more crushing adult revelations. Daughter swings more towards dour than witty and insightful, ruminating with some pretty gorgeous couplets. Take, for example, Men Like You, a track that on a vocal level and a production-wise level I really appreciated, but then we get lines like, if all you ever wanted was a golden ticket, which take me out of it. A music buddy of mine told me that the title track unfortunately sounded like something she'd sing in Forced church group hymn choir, which clocked a little too hard and ruined the track for me. Which brings me to this revelation that I had while I was listening. So for me, a song really clicks when there are three elements that work in tandem: vocals, production, and lyrics. I think for everyone this is the case. The record had this issue where it was kind of like a whack-a-mole situation where tracks would have two of these elements on lock, but then one thing is missing, which is actually more frustrating to me than the entire song just being a chop. But when Gracie does manage to get all three going, she does turn in some solid work. My personal standout, download it right now, Minibar, a jaunty breath of fresh air that recounts an awkward wild night out. It is the sole co-write from Audrey Hobart, who was one of the architects behind The Secret of Us. Hobart herself has become a rising star in the pop space, which explains her felt absence on this record, but that distinct, quirky chattiness is such a great swatch for Abrams to draw from. I wish that she had tapped into it more. Minibar individually breaks the streak of monotony, and trust me, I am an expert at monotone. That isn't to say, though, that there are not any standout ballads in here. Good Reason immediately struck me as I Love You, I'm Sorry's more nuanced sister, complete with stronger vocals, more confident lyrics that really define and unravel and reveal stronger insights into what exactly she's lamenting. I adore the variations if only statements, each being a distinct sentiment. It scratched my brain, very satisfying. The Knife, another track that I dug with a very solid bridge, compares heartbreak to a knife that has been left in her, something that she chooses to live with rather than take out in a twisted bid to remain connected. Humming openly acknowledges the pain that younger folk are feeling in the world today. The line about her childhood friends losing their houses to the blazes, and the hopelessness that she feels despite being a Nepo baby, being on a sinking ship of a world, and how no one feels safe nor okay. I have to admire the gusto. Abrams herself has been a very outspoken, informed person per interviews and what she sings about. I cannot fault her for that, but I can fault her music for being boring. It's just unfortunate that Abrams is very coy and vague throughout in a way that is understandably protective of her privacy, but there's very little to latch on to. Her co-writer Audrey is so specific in her feelings and situations that sometimes, despite feeling like it's oversharing, we really do get a sense of who she is just off her single debut record. We have had 3 Gracie records, and I do like parts of each of them, but I still don't know who exactly she is, besides being sad, gorgeous girl who can write some pretty couplets. Some of this record was teased while she was on tour. One of them I was really dying to hear was Death Wish. I think the recorded version is fine, but I think the live rendition just hits harder. I do think if she drops a live performance version of this record, I might actually end up liking some of these tracks more. That being said, I do think Daughter is a fine enough record, but I was expecting a leap up from The Secret of Us, but I can see those missing good riddance really liking this one. And now a quick track by track. Hit the Wall starts the album with some energy. Justin Vernon's backing vocals are very neat ornamental things to this track. I think that the production initially hinted at more energy, at least towards the end. Not to judge or anything, but I wanted more percussion, like drums, when she changes the key towards the end. I think the track thematically centers the album around this disconnect that she's feeling from her life. Those jangly little synths and notes feel like a connection failing to materialize, like a phone call's dial tone. Death Wish is a takedown track about a friend's relationship that at the time was really bumming her out when her friend would talk to them about it. The sprightly instrumental lends this fairy tale bardic bounce to the track, where she really spends each verse laying out how shitty this person is. The chorus lets her vocally flex a little bit as she questions about this person twisting the knife. I thought the bridge was brutal. That line, breath of their air being a death wish or the plans of a grand self-promotion, are sung with rare gasp of utter hatred. I liked it, solid track. The Knife is one of the more dynamic tracks. I thought the instrumental has a timeless vibe. It feels like a long-lost track from the past, very organic sounding. This track recounts this knife of a past love that's still attached to her side. Verse 2 was well written. I could really picture her on those long drives. The chorus is catchy, but the post-chorus switch-ups from "this should be the last time" to "this won't be the last time," it's almost like a little final cut from the actual knife. She's not over enough to not risk another stab from this knife. Daughter from Hell is the title track. It opens with a sick guitar riff. The song's verses lay out, upon reflection, how much she really takes her mother for granted. The chorus plain out points out all of these elements of her mother that she wants for herself, and she thanks her for being a shoulder to cry on. The instrumental bridge gives her some room to breathe before she lays out an extended chorus. I have to admit, it's really refreshing to see someone flip that trope of fearing becoming your own mother on its head in a very tender way. Look At My Life previews a Gracie that I feel is on the verge of something on a musical level. This track feels like a good mix of her first 2 record sounds. It's dynamic, it's chatty like The Secret of Us, but it has that severity from Good Riddance. The chorus is arena ready. It is just a little bit clunky, but in an earnest way that paints together anxiety that brims throughout the track. The bridge is a diary entry of sorts that ratchets it up to that final chorus. I think it was a smart single choice. Good Reason is the stripped-down guitar ballad where her voice gets the center stage. I love how dreamy it is, how it sounds. It recalls I Love You, I'm Sorry down to the same chords, but she twists the subject matter around. This track ponders the what-ifs before dismissing them as imaginary whims. The bridge leans into what could have changed to make leaving a lot easier for her. Love alone not being enough is such a great theme. If only I chose you and not me is such a good line. Very relatable, simple, crushing. Men Like You has a very pretty melody. I do like the sonic shifts throughout where Gracie gets to play around with her voice. The chorus has her properly sing. The little U's on the post-chorus kind of qualify as a mini hook on their own. The track has a neat little twist where it's about a woman who emulates the kind of toxic behavior that she often sees in men, so not a girl's girl. I mentioned earlier that I was not big on the verses because a few lines felt on the nose, particularly on verse 2 with the storyline line and the golden ticket lines. It just felt a little too tropey. Sober was one of those tracks that just started to blend together like the start of a ballad run where the choruses didn't quite vibe with me enough to perk an ear. Reading the lyrics, it's so romantic and the production does serve the voice and the vibe, but Gracie's vocals just were on this. They were just a little too dry to really grasp what she was saying or the emotion of it. Broke My Heart was another track that did not leave any mark on me. The synergy between the piano chords and the drums and how she was delivering the song, it does add some distinction, but the lyrics retread some old ground about an unhealthy romantic dynamic. I will shout out that little line, "You look at me like a stranger, but you know me." That one did stand out, but also the track just felt been there, done that. Muse is like the fifth ballad in a row, and by then I was a little checked out. She sounds gorgeous on this. There are some cool metaphors in there, but it should have been track listed elsewhere because it's lost in the shuffle. The bridge calls back to some ideas from Blowing Smoke and I Told You Things off The Secret of Us, which makes me convinced this is sort of following that storyline. Minibar hits hard. This is my track. It's only 2 minutes long. Could have been a little longer. I'm okay with it. It is a break from all of these heavy feelings on this track. We follow along this very fun night out where they kind of together, Audrey and Grace, fabricate this vision of a silly anxiety-filled night about getting high, causing some trouble. Verse 2, she's stoned out of her mind, realized someone has caught her out, and she's leaving. The small aside about taking the train too far past her house in the motel. We've all been there before. The bridge captures the feeling of being at a party just a little too long, ironically feeling very lonely despite being surrounded by so many people. Invisible Friend was co-written by her actor boyfriend, Paul Mescal. I think it's a very cute little track. It's very stream of consciousness in a way. I couldn't really piece together a storyline out of it. It kind of felt like a really cute inside joke between two lovers, kind of just messing around making music, which in a way makes it all the more endearing. Afflictions is a return to ballads. Sweet Little Ode contrasts some of the more contentious tracks on the record, listing all these positive things about her love that are kind of like afflictions, something that she's happy to succumb to. Sweet. Humming is a dreamy, folksy track that actually is profoundly sad, and a welcome change in topic where Abrams really lays out this haunting image of a world that's kind of squeezing everyone out. She has seen grief and extremes. The lines about her friends' childhood homes burning down, that was very real. I was in LA during the wildfires. Verse 3 is my favorite, with this almost music on the decks of the Titanic feel to it. The last chorus has Justin Vernon add some melodies, and Gracie finally get to kind of belt a bit, which felt cathartic. What If It's Right features Marcus Mumford, very ethereal track, very mythical quality to it. I love the little instrumental break, even though it's kind of dense. Like lyrically, I just could not grasp any specific line. Cold Goodbyes is the closer, and it's kind of like a poem about her state of mind and less of a thematically strong closer like how Free Now was for The Secret of Us, but still a pretty solid track. Overall, I do think this is an okay record. It needed a few trims on the track list. It runs a little too long, retreads a little too much of the same ground. I think they should have refreshed the order, and it kind of felt like a missed opportunity. I think Desner is a fine collaborator for Gracie, but I think she should branch out, explore more, come back to us with something that feels a little bit more fresh, with like more specific things to say. Otherwise, 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. And that's a wrap on my quick review of Gracie Abrams' new album. Let me know below if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, what your favorite songs were, where you think Gracie should go directionally wise, if you're excited for Audrey Hobart 2 like I am. Just let me know what you thought about the album below. A shout out to my members. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting my channel. Shout out to my subscribers. Love you guys too. And a shout out to my Substack subscribers. Follow me there for written thoughts. And I will see you very soon for the Charlie review. I am so scared for this upcoming album. I hope she nails the landing. I'm excited for it, and I will see you guys soon.